Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Innovation Talks Theater. My name's Toby, and I have the pleasure of being your host today. And a big welcome to everybody. I'm glad everybody made it out to Cisco Live 2020. There's a lot of us here, but together we're building the bridge to get you where you want to be so you can make anything possible. And here at Cisco Live, you'll learn new things, be inspired, and create the path to endless opportunities. Now, we'll be showing 14 sessions here in this theater where we will inspire you, show you our latest solutions, innovations, and of course, best practices. Now, today we're joined by Ash Devata, Head of Products for Cisco's Duo Security and Zero Trust. Ash joined Cisco through the Duo Security acquisition in 2018. He was the VP of products at Duo and helped the Duo product grow from a few hundred customers to 20,000 plus customers today. Prior to Duo, Ash was at RSA, among other companies, working across various security domains, including data loss prevention, governance, risk and compliance, security operations, and key management. In this session, Ash will talk about how to get more security value in an easier fashion. He'll cover how Cisco is innovating to enable you to deploy and manage security with minimal cost and overhead. Please give a warm welcome on stage to Ash Devata.
Thank you, Toby. Hello, everyone. For the next 30 minutes, we're going to talk about how we at Cisco are innovating to make security easier for you. I've been in the industry for about 15 years now, and security is a hard job. As a practitioner, you're always trying to catch up with the adversary or the attacker. An attacker finds a new way to compromise your infrastructure. You're catching up on reading about that threat. How do you apply patches? How do you actually catch up? So a lot of us think our number one enemy in the industry is the adversary. But that's actually not true. And it's like that saying, I met the enemy, and it's us. So the enemy number one in cybersecurity is actually complexity. Complexity in terms of the threats you need to go after, the processes you need to set in place to understand those threats and put remediation plans in place. Complexity in terms of end-user workflows. A lot of times you expect a lot from your end user. You expect them to create a unique password for every application, and they use dozens, if not hundreds, of applications. You expect them not to click on a phishing email. It's a pretty cute cat video. I want to click on that. But as IT, you expect me not to. So how do you reduce the kind of stuff you're asking from your end user? How do you make security easy? So today we're going to talk about how Cisco is helping organizations simplify security. And it falls into three main buckets. The first one is around simplifying the end user experience. How can you make security not be a friction for end users, but just be in the back end? It's like seat belts in a car. It's not a friction. You're just used to it, or airbags in a car. They come in when you really need them. Otherwise, they're not in your way. The second thing is, how do you make security easy for practitioners? How can you simplify IT operations? Make sure you're not spending money on dozens of vendors or spending money on a lot of security analysts to understand threats. I'm going to walk you through three specific examples that came out in the last few months from Cisco that help you in this theme. The first example, or innovation number one, is around multi-factor authentication. It is a basic security control everyone should have. This is the number one threat vector, attackers compromising user credentials and thereby entering your network, entering your applications. And MFA is a very strong control that can help you with that. How many of you have MFA deployed across your organization? Quite a few, less than like 20%. The rest of you should definitely think about adding MFA. In the old world, MFA was pretty hard. You had to ship tokens. You have to install on-prem components. You had to build custom connectors. But these days, you can get MFA up and running in less than 5 minutes. So definitely consider this as the immediate project you can work on because it significantly reduces the risk. For those of you familiar with Duo, Duo offers a multi-factor authentication product. It's all cloud-enabled. We support different forms of authenticators, all the way from biometrics, push notifications, FIDO standard tokens, all the way to delivering a one-time passcode through SMS. But the key innovation is not about MFA. MFA is pretty easy to use when you think about it from Duo. It's pretty easy to deploy. The key innovation I want to focus on is how are you taking advantage of MFA to solve the problem around endpoints, the endpoints that your end users are using. These can be the mobile devices, iOS, iPhones, or Android devices. These can be Macs. These can be Windows machines. And these can be the devices that you are giving to your end users and managing, fully managed corporate-owned devices. Or on the other extreme, devices that the end users bring to the organization, BYOD, bring your own device. Because Duo is in the path of access, it can see every device the user is using to access your corporate network or applications. And at the time of access, we do analysis on the device without any agents requirement. We talk with the backend if it's a managed device to understand more about the device. And based on that, we can enforce a policy. And I actually want to show you a live demo that we set up for you to show how the workflow looks like. Can you move to the live demo, please? So what you see on the screen here, on the right-hand side are a bunch of applications we support. On the left-hand side is actually my phone. I'm showing you my phone live, and I hope I don't get any text messages right now. So what I want to show you is generally how the end-user experience is. Let's say you're logging into Office 365, a very popular application. I just type in my username password, which I buffered in a copy and paste. I say login, and now you see with a prompt for the end user, explaining the end user that 2FA or multi-factor authentication is enabled. And a bunch of options are given to the end user. Authenticate using push, a phone call, a passcode, and so on. In this case, I'll select a push. And on the left-hand side, you should see a push notification come to my phone. And I'll click on the notification. It opens up the notification. It's telling me that Ash is logging in from Spain. We get a location detail for the country level, but not a city level, because getting a city level geolocation violates the GDPR policy. So we take a lot of care at this level of design on what data we capture, what we show. And if I did not initiate this authentication, I actually have a choice to say it's either a mistake or fraudulent. Let's see what happens if I say it's fraudulent. It actually blocks me on the right-hand side. So if you think about it, how this is going to work in your organization, you are right now, with this deployment, enabling all your workforce, all your employees, to actually be first responders when a threat is happening. You are enabling the employees to complain or send a notice to the security teams that something wrong is going on. And this signal can go to the IT admin or can go to your SIM platform, and you can use that for your SOC operations. Now let's go try this again. In this case, I'll just not accept the authentication request instead of blocking it. So on the phone, you'll see that I get a notification in a few seconds. And again, the notifications are sent through the cloud directly to my mobile device. I think I'm off the network right now. Murphy's Law acting. Oh, I did not click push. No wonder. So now a push notification should be coming to my phone. There you go. And I'll open it up. This time, I'm going to approve. And if I'm logging into a more sensitive application, you can set up a policy to require biometrics. So you can step up the authentication based on the risk of the application. And what if my device is not secure? What if my browser is out of date? That's a significant risk depending on what I'm trying to access. So I downloaded Firefox, a really out-of-date version of Firefox. Don't tell this to my IT team, because I'm not supposed to do this. And let's see what happens when I log into Office 365. So same device, same username and password. I log in. And something interesting came up, the orange color banner. It's telling me that my device is out of date by more than 12 months. It's trying to tell me something. It's not creating fear. It's not a big alert symbol. It's not red. It's not in the face. So you're making security more accessible, usable, not fearful. But if I'm like a typical end user, I'll just say, whatever, I don't want to read that, just send me a push notification. And once I get a push notification, I can approve. Again, I get a push notification, I approve. And on the left-hand side, you see that I'm getting into the application, but the system is warning me that, hey, your machine is out of date. We strongly recommend you update your software because it's causing a risk for the organization. Again, it's not in the face. It's helping the end user get educated. But again, I'm busy. I just want to get to my Office 365 portal. I say skip. I'm in. But if you think about what just happened, the system recognized that your Firefox is out of date, but it warned the end user, but it let the end user log into Office 365. Logging into a cloud application using an out-of-date browser, it's kind of bad, but it's really not the end of, from a security program perspective, it's not really, really bad. But what if I'm using the same browser to log into, let's say, my engineering repository where we have our source code? That's a much bigger risk. Again, same device, same username, same browser. And let's say my engineering network is segmented using Cisco VPN or Cisco ASA. I click on this. I type in my username and password. And in this case, you'll see that I was completely denied. And again, the design aspect of this took hundreds of iterations for us. We're not putting a red alert based on the user. It's all based on the research and the feedback we got from customers. You don't want to scare your end user. You want your end user to actually read and act in the right way. So we tell the end user that their system is out of date, and we explain what they should be doing, and we explain them that the Firefox is out of date and how to update it. So that's the end of the demo. And as you saw in the demo, I should get my clicker. As you saw in the demo, it's multi-factor authentication, but it's also analyzing all your devices. We can identify if a device is managed or unmanaged. We can identify if a device is jailbroken or rooted, if it's got screen lock enabled, if encryption is enabled. And all this is done without installing any agents. All this is done by hooking into the OS-level APIs that the big vendors, Apple, Google, and Microsoft provide. We actually have a customer story, Tyco Group. They make these really awesome exhaust pipes for most of the automobile brands out there, from BMW, Audi, Volvo, and so on. So see the story and see what the customer has to say. Please play the video.
So my name is Marian Danishek, and I'm working for the company Tyco. My position is I'm a global IT infrastructure operation manager. We are working in the automotive industry. We are manufacturing and developing premium exhaust trims, and we are basically the market leader in this. This is the global company, and people spread around the globe. And the problem is the mentality is different, the approach is different. So this means we have to deliver the application for those people in a secure way. We start basically looking at the market, and then we select 2 or 3 vendors basically, which we would like to do some proof of concept. So, and one of the vendors, luckily, was Duo. What really impressed me was how the website and all documentation which is online looks like. It just gave me the feeling like this is so simple. Everybody can do that. Yeah, this is like user-friendly. We have the Duo Care purchased, and this is really nice, and I can recommend it highly to everybody. The way how they care, how they lead us, how they give us advices, or how can interact with us, and this was not only one-way communication. We also can give the feedback and they listen to that. There are features in the Duo which we start utilizing and we like a lot. It is about the device inside. Like I can see which devices are people using to get access to company. Plus, it's a really nice thing, and this is the phishing campaigns. I executed this campaign on my IT colleagues without letting them know, just to see how they're behaving. It's worth every dollar we pay for this. I can say this is really more than you imagine at the beginning. I can tell you that my imagination, this go beyond my imagination, and I really appreciate the communication every time, even outside the scheduled meeting. I can't really complain. This is really unique for me in my IT career to see this kind of performance, I have to say.
thanks to Tyco, we're getting a lot of feedback from them, and thank you, Tyco, for being an amazing customer. So that's the innovation number one, how you use multi-factor authentication, not just to secure your users, but also get visibility into your endpoints. Innovation number two is around the second biggest threat, endpoints, Windows machines and Macs especially. No matter what you hear from the industry, the threats from iPhones and Androids are relatively low, mainly because Apple is a closed ecosystem. That's pretty good. The latest versions of Android are way more secure than they were in the past. And these service providers and the device manufacturers are putting in good security controls for Android devices. But the lowest hanging fruit is around Mac and Windows machines, especially Windows for attackers. So this innovation is about how do you take advantage of your existing endpoint security products and get more value from an access perspective. Let's see what that is about. There's a product called Advanced Malware Protection from Cisco, AMP. Short form is AMP, AMP for endpoint. This is a world-class endpoint security agent. Gartner calls it EPP, Endpoint Protection Platform. It detects if you have malware or virus on your machine. So it's scanning files, it's looking at the traffic, so it makes sure your machine is malware-free. The second part of this agent is EDR, or Endpoint Detection and Response. In case something slips and your machine gets compromised, how do you detect that it's compromised? So EDR is quite sophisticated. It's looking at all the network traffic from the endpoint perspective. It's looking at the processes happening on the machine. And it's got a machine learning model that kind of detects that something bad is going on in the machine and alerts the IT admins about it. Those two together is a single agent. And we from Cisco had it for a while. That's not the key innovation. It's more about, the innovation is more around, what do you do once you know that this specific endpoint is compromised? The traditional workflow is it sends an alert to the IT admin or a SOC analyst. They try to gather the context. Who is actually using that machine? Who is that user? Is it someone I really care about? Or is it just a contractor kind of playing with it and they don't really have access to a lot of infrastructure? They want to understand all that. And based on that information, they want to take a remediation step. And all this takes time. And all this assumes that you have a dedicated SOC analyst. So a new integration that we built between Duo and AMP can actually automate the entire process. It significantly reduces your time to respond. So what we're trying to do here is as soon as AMP for endpoint detects that your machine is compromised, it tells Duo that that machine is compromised. And then Duo immediately enables a policy to block that specific machine from accessing any net new corporate application. And all that is happening in a seamless fashion. You don't need to do any custom integration. You don't need to do an endpoint level integration. Irrespective of how many users you have, a few hundred or a few thousand or tens of thousands, there's only one simple integration from the console of AMP to the console of Duo. You're literally taking the API keys or credentials from AMP for endpoint, you're plugging them in Duo, and then you set up a policy. And that's it. You're enabling the automated workflow. How many of you are part of a SOC or you have a SOC program, Security Operations Center? A few hands. So as a SOC analyst, you live by this every day. You always want to automate a response procedure, and this is one of the ways it can help you in your workflows. It also creates log information from this, and that log information can be sent to your SIM or whatever data lake you have in the backend. So it's not only immediately blocking it from an automated fashion, it's also providing all the log data for remediation. And you can also go into the Duo console and get a history of the behavior of that endpoint and the user. You're not blocking the user, you're blocking only the endpoint. So that's the innovation number two. How do you automate endpoint response when you know the endpoint is known to be infected? And the last one I want to talk about is specific to SOC use case. There's a new fabric or offering from Cisco called a Cisco Threat Response. And as the name suggests, it's all about how do you respond to threats every day when you have hundreds or dozens of them coming in from different products. If you're a SOC analyst, typically your job falls into two buckets. One, you're getting a lot of alerts from different products you have, firewalls, endpoint detection software, from your IDS, intrusion detection systems, from your web secure gateway, email secure gateway. Every security product out there is telling you that there's something wrong going on, I see bad traffic, there's something bad you need to pay attention to. And as a SOC team, you have a very small set of security analysts, and they cannot humanly go through all the alerts. And they typically want to answer some basic questions. What exactly is this threat? What is this alert about? What is the impact for me? And are we seeing the same threat from other places in the organization? As an example, you see a threat indicator or a threat alert from Endpoint tool, you want to see if the same threat exists on the email side or the web side. And today, it's a pretty bit of manual process. You have to go to different systems, go through different consoles. What CTR allows you to do is plug into all the security products that are creating alerts for you and combine all that information. And a key differentiator there is we're not pulling all the data, we're just putting APIs for all the data you have there. So we're not creating a net new data lake for you for all the threats. Instead, what we're doing is providing you a modular way to connect to AMP for endpoint, to connect with the firewall system, to connect with Umbrella, and so on. So if you find a new threat, let's say email secure gateway tells you that it's seeing a specific type of malware on Ash's machine, I'm downloading an email, you can right-click on that alert from Cisco Threat Response and see what other products found the same threat. And it'll show you, from a differentiation perspective, all those threats as red color. And then you can investigate what the security community is saying about that specific threat. So you get the intelligence from Talos or third-party feeds all into the system, same console. So for a SOC analyst, you can easily automate a bunch of your workflows and increase your response time. In the industry, the average is about 100 days. By the time, if day one is when you got attacked, 100 days plus is when the company actually realizes that they got attacked. So the attacker is in the organization's network without being discovered for more than 100 days. That's ridiculous, right? Your house is getting robbed, and you realize that you got robbed after 100 days. So the whole focus is how do you reduce the dwell time for the attacker and make sure you're responding in a faster fashion. And we want to enable you to do that without hiring more analysts, without buying more tools. So this specific product, Cisco Threat Response, is offered for free if you have any of Cisco's other security products. If you're using email security or endpoint security, CTR is just available as a new module for you. So we actually have a customer called NHS that was willing to share the story with us, and we made a video with that customer. Can you please play the video now?
NHS manages around 55 other nursing facilities, as well as manages pharmacy locations. So there's a lot of exposure, as well as needing to maintain the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of healthcare data. So I've been at NHS for 8 years. I'm the systems architect, and then we have 2 other engineers on our infrastructure team. Since we have such a relatively small staff compared to the number of users and locations we support, we needed to have maximal leverage to utilize our knowledge and skills and staff to support the organization. At NHS, there are around 7,500 users and around 4,000 endpoint devices, and then we have another 2,000 or so networking devices. The data we're protecting at NHS is the patient healthcare data and their financial data. Bad actors are targeting healthcare organizations to go out and try to obtain that data to exploit that. We did have a malware incident where we were the target of a spam malware campaign. So we had multiple Cisco products working together. It retrospectively detected that malware, so once the malware came in, went to the user's inbox, AMP actually stopped it and said, no, this is banned from the network, and this was all without human interaction. Prior to the deployment and integration of threat response into our network, whenever there was an incident or we needed to do some type of threat hunting, it was very difficult to actually aggregate all that information together in a meaningful way. Now that we have threat response, we can look at that in a single dashboard and see all the information we need. We have had a 20% reduction in man-hours spent on IT security operations since we deployed threat response and Cisco security solutions. We had an issue one Saturday that needed an investigation. Previously, if this same incident would have occurred, I would have spent days trying to determine what systems were impacted. Using threat response and the different Cisco security tools, I was able to determine what systems were impacted, what the issue was, and have it remediated by 10 a.m. What we're looking forward here to NHS with our continued partnership with Cisco is the stability and reliability we've experienced since deploying the Cisco solutions, and continue to evolve our network to match the vision of Cisco and what they're bringing forth as far as IT security, because Cisco continues to innovate, deploy new solutions, and maximize efficiencies for customers.
You know, if you missed the highlights of this, they have about 50 medical facilities they need to secure, a lot of sensitive data, healthcare information. Their team is 3 people. And it's not just security, they also own the IT infrastructure. So they need tools like this that automate the workflows because they don't have time to go after every threat. And that specific innovation in terms of reducing the time to respond, automating the workflows, made Cisco Threat Response one of the fastest growing products in our portfolio. We launched this less than 18 months ago, and today we have more than 7,000 customers using it in production. So it's a pretty amazing product. I strongly recommend you to try it. And one of the key things today is all the products we talked about today, Duo, AMP for Endpoint, Cisco Threat Response, they're all cloud-based, which means there's no on-prem component. And you can start using them, just have a trial for 14 days or a full month and see how they can help you in terms of your existing workflows. So just to summarize, we're working hard to simplify the end user experience for you. We want you to think of all your end users as they're on your side, helping your organization be safer, not on the other side where you're trying to see, competing with them, or they're not on the other side of the IT. The second thing, we're trying to simplify security operations. We understand that too many vendors, that too many products, so we're doing a lot of native integrations all through APIs so that you can plug and play. So that's pretty much the end of the talk that I wanted to highlight today. And we have live demos on the solution side. All the products you saw today are available for a full live demo. And enjoy the rest of the show. Thank you again for attending this session.